What's up, guys, and welcome to Scourge of War, Les Jours, Episode 6, Part 1. So, we're finally here at the final scenario for the Les Jours mod. This will be the full battle of La Souffel as the Austrians. All right, let's get into it here. So the length of play is, it says 5 hours, but again, it's four, and I went into expecting 4 hours because the French scenario was 4 hours, so I just assumed it was the same misprint that it was in the French scenario. So this time it didn't take me by surprise the way it did when I played the French scenario, because I was kind of expecting it to be only 4 hours long. We command the Third Corps of the Army vom Oberrhein. I guess that means the Army of the Rhine, or the Over Rhine, or I don't know. Something about the Rhine. Army of the River Rhine, perhaps. And the time is 3 p.m., June 28th, 1815. The difficulty is considered normal, which is different from the French scenario, which was Grognard's difficulty. So this scenario is considered to be easier for the Austrian side than it is for the French, and I concur with that assessment after playing it. And the situation is, this scenario simulates the full Battle of La Souffel on the 28th of June, 1815, from the point of view of the Allies. And the mission is to take and hold as many objectives as you can. So that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? The forces available, we have the Austrian Third Corps, the Army vom Oberrhein, commanded by Field Marshal Kronprinz Frederick Wilhelm Karl von Württemberg, consisting of cavalry, as well as the 1st and 2nd Infantry Division, an artillery division, and I'll never pronounce this thing down here, right, Osterreichsche Division. Jesus, these words, I couldn't even begin to guess what that means. I don't recognize any of this, except this is probably Hessian and refers to the Hessian Division. So yeah, my German is even worse than my French, guys. So I'm going to try not to say any German names in this video, because I'm just going to sound stupid. Again, we need 10,000 points for a major victory, and again, just like the last videos that we did on the French battle, we'll talk about kind of what my thoughts going into this battle were once we actually get into the game. I'll pop open the map and talk about what I was thinking here. All right, let's rock and roll here and launch the scenario. And again, guys, I'm going to take this 2 hours of the 4 hours we'll do in part one, and we'll go from 1500 to 1700, and then 1700 to 1900 for part two. All right, so it says the enemy is defending the line of Souffel. Your troops will join the field gradually. Currently, you have at your disposal only one brigade of Hessian troops. All right, so let's pop open the map here, pause the video, and we can see that we have absolutely nothing on the field right now except for a smattering of troops coming in from the very northern part of the map. And you can see we have a bunch of objectives on the map that we need to capture. So the first three in the front line here are at Lampertheim, the Stone Bridge, and of course the town of Souffel-Wiersheim. So all of these are actually waypoint objectives, and you'll see before I close the map, because I don't know that when I'm playing the scenario, so I actually hover over each objective to see what it is, how much it's worth, and so forth. It helps me plan out exactly what it is I want to go and do. However, the early part of this battle is pretty straight ahead. We're coming down from the north. Lampertheim is clearly the closest objective to us, so we're just going to advance down the road here, set up, and start inching forward and see what is waiting for us at Lampertheim. I don't expect there to be much, given Episode 1, Hessian Fury, how that played out. The French made their stand more at the town of Mundelsheim than they did at Lampertheim. So I'm going to inch forward as we get to Lampertheim and kind of see what's there. And as far as kind of the rest of what I was thinking here, so I am not anticipating the French concentrating their entire force along the Souffel River as we did in our scenario when we played as the French, because the French troops start out very scattered, and um, just my experience in playing the game tells me that that would be a very complex script to actually have the French troops be as scattered as they are and actually move to form a cohesive line all across the Souffel River. While that was the best strategy to use as the French, it certainly worked out well for us. I just don't expect the uh, the French under the AI to think like that. So I'm expecting to be able to take most of these positions a lot easier than we made it on the Austrians when we played as the French, because the AI obviously is not going to use things like the fortress and controlling engagement distances and formational controls the way I do. It's liable to just sit there and wait until my troops approach and then start engaging. So that, and the fact that these are all waypoint objectives. And the difference between a waypoint and a hold objective is that when you seize a waypoint objective, it's worth a certain amount of points over a given rotation, and then once you capture it, that objective disappears. And a hold objective, of course, when you capture it, it has a rotation, but you could just sit on it for as long as you want. And every time the rotation counts down to zero, you get the number of points, and then it just keeps cycling over and over again. Um, so there are some pros and cons to hold objectives, and there are some pros and cons to waypoint objectives. One of the biggest pros about waypoint objectives is that because they are worth a one-time set of points for holding it just one time over whatever the rotation is, um, capturing it with a certain amount of speed is not necessarily a big deal, because whether you capture it, 15 minutes in or a half hour in, I mean, as long as you have enough time to get the rotation, whatever it is, whether it's 9 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever the rotation is, you're going to get the full value of the points anyway. So waypoint objectives, in a way, allow you a certain amount of, say, more flexibility than you might get with a hold objective. With a hold objective, the best strategy is usually to seize it as fast as you possibly can. Casualties be damned, whatever you lose taking the objective, you're going to make up for by just the constant cycling of points over and over again. So usually the best strategy with a hold objective is just to get it. Casualties be damned, and just take it as fast as possible. Uh, and with waypoint objectives, because you're only going to get a certain amount of points from it anyway over one rotation, you gives you the flexibility to maybe take a little more time, plan out how you're going to go about capturing it, and do your best to minimize the losses you take on your side, so that when you do capture the objective, it has more of an impact than it would if you tried to capture it the same way you would capture a hold objective, because you're not going to just be able to get points, cycle points and points and points over and over again from the same objective. You're just going to get one rotation, capture it for whatever it's worth, and then it's going to disappear, and you got to move on. So basically, these front three are all waypoint objectives, and these three here are hold objectives. So while these objectives we just want to get to and take, these ones we want to put a little more thought into about how we're going to go ahead and capture them. And I am not exactly sure going into the scenario how I'm going to do that. Uh, in some ways, I'm going to again use the previous scenarios that we played as a gauge. Certainly, Hessian Fury. We know these troops that we have here are members of the Hessian Guard. They are supremely good troops. They're level 8. Uh, Certainly, nothing that stands before them will stop them. If I so choose, I'd rather not have to take that kind of bullheaded approach if I can avoid it. We'll see what the situation presents us with as the scenario goes on. But certainly, if that is ultimately the best thing to do to get the objective, then nothing the French have will stop guard level troops from taking what I want to take. They're the best in the game, and we know there's no French cavalry nearby. They're all back here. and it's very doubtful that the French player is going to have the foresight that we did when we brought all our cavalry up here to stop these guard level troops when we played as the French. Uh, it's very doubtful the AI is scripted to do that. So I'm pretty confident that if worse comes to worse, I can just make use of the guard level troop quality and just bum rush whatever I need to take over here. But we're going to inch forward towards Lampertheim and see what we got, and see what the situation is and what kind of opportunities maybe open up to us as far as taking this position and then pushing through towards Mundelsheim. Mundelsheim is not an objective. There's no objective here. However, we obviously are going to need to push through this area in order to open the road to the southernmost objectives here. We know that we're going to get some troops somewhere along the line that are going to come, I guess, down through here and go through Reichstadt, and then we can use them to see how we're going to go and take the Souffel-Wiersheim position. And we also know that some more troops later on will come down through this road here from Vendenheim, and we can send them forward to take the Stonebridge area. Hopefully, we'll be able to drive back the French from the Souffel-Wiersheim position and link up with the positions these troops here coming down the road and link these forces together. If we're very lucky, we can make quick work of the troops at Souffel-Wiersheim and actually march east and hit whatever is guarding the stone bridge in the flank as we hit them in the front from these troops coming down the road. From there, if we can drive off this front line, my plan is to take what I have left of the Hessen division, as well as the troops that cross the Stone Bridge, and then push southeast for these hold objectives and see what is blocking our path. But again, certainly I don't know exactly what the French plan is. I'm certain it'll be very different than our plan was as the French, which was basically just to bring everything we had up to the front and make our stand along the Souffel and use all sorts of engagement and formational controls to stop up the Austrian forces, which worked great. But I know that the AI is not capable of doing the type of things I'm capable of doing. So I do not expect that level of resistance from the French under AI command. But anyway, we have a little small task to start off with here. We're just going to start off by marching the Hessian. We also have an artillery battery, so we got an 8-gun battery here and then the Hessian brigade here. And we're just going to march on down the road, set up around here, see what's in front of us, and start advancing on Lampertheim. And with that, guys, let's run the video and see how this begins here. All right, so here I'm just, again, hovering over these objectives. You can see they're all waypoint objectives. Souffel-Wiersheim is worth 1,000 points. The other two are worth 500 points, and we got to hold them for 9 minutes. And I think Souffel-Wiersheim was 15 minutes. All of these are 9-minute hold objectives that are worth 500 points every time we hold them. So they are worth a good bit of points, even though they have a somewhat long rotation. Again, they are all hold objectives. So every 9 minutes, if we capture all 3 of them, we'll rack up another 1,500 points. So that's not small potatoes. So we do want to get to those objectives, but we have plenty of time. It's a 4-hour scenario. Here we go. We have the Hessian guard level troops all lined up in column here on the road with our artillery battery in rear. And again, we have General Major Justice Leonhard Freire von Folenius. I'm sure that was awful. And he is commanding the Hessian Darmstadt Guard Division. These troops are amazing. They are a level 8 elite troops. I'll fight anything with level 8 troops, and I'll demolish anything in front of me with troop quality that high. Nothing will stop me with troop quality like this. These guys are absolute killers. It's literally like having an entire brigade full of, Darth Vaders. Just, they're all gods. And we have our artillery battery, and we'll bring them down and have them also march along the road. And there's the town. That's what I was looking for. And we'll just plant them kind of right in front here on the road. And if there's anything in front of us, the batteries will be able to open up and start firing away. and we'll just use road movement so everybody marches down the road. So we got a little bit of a march ahead of us. As we recall, when we played the French scenario, we didn't sight the enemy for quite a while because they had a march ahead of us, just ahead of them, just like we do now, which gave us plenty of time to set up the defense as the French. However, I would not expect the French to be putting their time to use quite as well as we did in this instance here, because they are probably just going to sit there until they sight us. So this is Field Marshal Lieutenant Joseph Friedrich Freer Palombini, and he commands the Österreichisch Division, and his troops are not on the field at the moment. So he's a division commander, but none of his troops are on the field at the moment. So I'm just going to bring him along for the ride with the Hessian Brigade here. And you can see our troops neatly moving down the road here in, they're supposed to move in column by division, but this kind of looks like an arrowhead division, arrowhead formation here. It's column by division, but it looks like they are being blown back by the wind or something. But they'll get themselves in order and come up here, and we'll form them up in assault column and whatnot as we prepare to move in on Lampertheim here. So it's a little slow at the beginning here, guys. There's some operational movement. This is a big map. There's a lot of room for maneuver. So, it takes a while before we sight the enemy. And then once we sight them, we got to figure out how we're going to go about taking them. And it's kind of bittersweet making this video because I know that this is the beginning of the end. This is the final scenario for Les Jours, unless, of course, more stuff comes out for it in a later update. But I haven't heard anything lately about anything like that happening. So this is pretty much the end here, as we have the final Battle of Les Souffel as the Austrians. So here they come. They're starting to straighten their formations out a little bit. Got a nice, good-sized brigade here. Nearly 4,500 men. That's huge for an infantry brigade. A lot of troops, and all, as you can see, level 8 elite troops. Crack level troops. Just amazing. And I'm just having a look around here. We're up near the very north edge of the map here. And we're just waiting for our troops to assemble at the road here. And once they form up and look all nice and neat and orderly, again, I can take my time here. These early objectives are only worth a set amount of points for one rotation of capturing them. So I'm not in a tremendous hurry. Once I get them, I'm, going to get whatever they're worth anyway, whether I capture them a half hour from now, whether I capture them an hour from now, it doesn't matter. So I want to be a little cautious in my approach because I can't count on these objectives to necessarily make up for losses that I take. The less losses I take in taking the objective, the more the objective is actually worth to me, because I'm using it as a net positive of points as opposed to making up whatever losses I take, and then whatever's left over becomes a net positive. So I want the most net positive results I can get for taking the objective, which leads me to be a little more cautious in my approach. in terms of I don't want to sustain any more losses than I absolutely have to. And one of my core philosophies on the attack is that I always attack only what I absolutely have to attack to get the job done. And I only try to use as much of a force as I absolutely need to use to get the job done. So a sort of a conservation in theory and a conservation in force, in that all I'm interested in doing is doing what is absolutely necessary to capture that objective. No more, no less, of course. And the front line of these battalions have at least gotten themselves in order. And hopefully by the time they get to their position, they will have assumed a proper formation. And the artillery battery is kind of moving through them to get ahead of them so that they can set up and start bombarding the town, if there's anything worth bombarding. And the supply wagon is bringing up the rear. And I'm still, the reason I'm popping open the map and just looking around is, again, this is the first time I played the scenario, blind, don't really have an idea of what's going to happen. So I am still thinking about my strategy here and still thinking about what it is I want to do going forward. I already know that I'm pretty much going to use these Hessian troops to take Lampertheim. So I'm kind of thinking ahead right now in terms of, well, what am I going to do afterwards? At what point are my other forces going to start appearing on the map? How am I going to make use of them once they do? What's the best way of going about taking these objectives? So while my troops are on the march here and I have some time to think about that, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I'm also trying to remember how the French were initially disposed at the beginning of the French scenario. And because we moved all the French all over the place. We totally changed their disposition, but I'm not really expecting the AI to do that. So I'm trying to remember now, what did they look like before I did any of that at the beginning of the scenario? I probably should have rewatched the French video before I sat down to do this playthrough, but I didn't. I just sat down blind and went for it. But that's what I'm wondering right now. I remember that they were scattered, and I remember that they only had about half their force forward near the Souffel River, and a lot of it was scattered way to the south of the map. Especially their cavalry. Their cavalry was way out of position. I think it was, backed by those eastern towns, the three towns to the southeast, that the French end up having to fall back on historically. But that's initially what I'm wondering here, is how are the French initially disposed, and what kind of force am I going to have to apply to dislodge them? All right, so our infantry has finally gotten themselves into a pretty looking column by division formation. Very good, fellas. It only took you a half mile to get it done. And they will begin moving into their assigned positions. The artillery is nearly up. They will unlimber if there's anything to shoot at and begin bombarding the town. And we'll see what's in front of us and begin moving our troops forward. And the artillery is nearly up. And I'm checking out the formations because this is the first time I've played a big Austrian scenario. And some new formations were added, so I was just checking to see what they were, because the only other Allied side scenario in this mod is the Hessian Fury, where we just play this one brigade. So all I use is basically line and assault column, just basic stuff. But I know I'm going to get many more troops on the field, so I just wanted to see what other, higher level formations might be available to me. Of course, this is a brigade commander, so I'm really going to only see the formations that are available to a brigade. I don't even have a division on the field yet. All right, so we're just waiting for our brigade to finish forming up here. Now, I know I could have just, sped up time and, gotten this all over within 30 seconds. And I know a lot of other people that make YouTube videos do that sometimes. I don't, because I want to give you guys like the full experience. If you guys think marching and forming up is boring, I mean, it's a YouTube video. You can fast forward it by all means. But I want to give you that choice of experiencing, the battle, the entire battle in real time, the preparation that goes into it, the amount of time it takes to move troops into position, and kind of just the whole experience of it, as opposed to just, oh, well, this is boring, this is just marching into formation, let me just mash the plus key and speed up time as much as possible. I know some other YouTubers do that. That's fine. But I'd rather give you guys the choice of, you can just fast forward it, fast forward the video if you want to do that. But at least this way, you guys have the choice in being able to actually experience the entire battle in real time. And battles aren't always fast-paced blood and guts and slaughter. Sometimes there's a lot of operational movement and just getting your troops into position and stuff like that. I find all of that stuff very interesting, in the amount of thought and preparation that goes into doing that. So I keep everything in real time for any of you that also find that interesting. And like I said, if you don't, it's a YouTube video. You can fast forward it and skip to the blood and guts. So needless to say, there will be some slow moments here, as a lot of this early stuff here is literally just forming my troops up in the positions I want them formed up with and preparing to advance, like we're doing now. So the guns have not unlimbered, which tells me they don't have a target. So I'm going to cautiously start advancing the battery and the infantry brigade on the town. And I'm just going to do it in little bitty increments, just to see if, as we move forward, anything appears in my view. And if not, I will just continue to inch forward. And if so, we will decide how it is we want to engage them. So you can see the French have blown the bridge leading over that tributary from the Souffel River, as well as the main bridge behind it leading to Mundelsheim. So I don't see anything. The fort is not occupied, or at least it doesn't appear to be. I see no French flag, and they certainly don't have the objective occupied. So it may be different than Hessian Fury, where we did have to engage some skirmishers out in this orchard here. That may not be the case in this scenario. Perhaps all the French troops start off in Mundelsheim. I'm not sure, but we're going to inch forward and just see if anything reveals itself to us. And one of the things I'll do is I'll just keep advancing the battery, because even if I can't spot anything, if the battery can, they will stop and unlimber, and that will tell me right away that I have enemy troops within range of the artillery at least, and that will give me an idea of what we're facing. So this is just Palambini, the division commander without a division, and I'm just keeping him along for the ride, as well as advancing my Hessian division commander, because the supply wagon will follow him. And the guns are still not unlimbering, so I'm going to continue to advance them. Again, just little increments up the road, cautiously, because I don't know what's in front of me. And we will move the Hessian Brigade. This is my army commander here. He was way out of position at a crossroads somewhere, probably doing some scouting, so I just brought him back here. This is a Field Marshal Crown Prince Württemberg. He commands the entire 3rd Corps, or the Army vom Oberrhein, and I just wanted to get him back with his troops. I don't know what he was doing way out there on the crossroads west of Lampertheim, but I want him with me. So still no sign of any enemy troops. At this point, I feel like I should be able to sight them if there's anything in the town. And nothing on the map. So there's no sign of the French at Lampertheim currently. And again, I'm probably still just thinking about what it is I want to do later on. I already kind of, understand that I want to take Lampertheim with the Hessians, but I'm still mulling over ideas in my head about how I want to take the rest of these objectives and how I want to use my forces. One of the problems with the depth of knowledge I have with this game and the depth of experience I have is when I'm playing a scenario blind like this, there's like 100 different ideas per second rolling over in my brain about how I want to do things. So I'm constantly opening the mini-map and reevaluating and thinking, and nothing's even happened yet. But that's just the way my wheels spin, especially when I don't necessarily know what's going on 100%. I'm just mulling over all sorts of different possibilities of how I want to do this. And we are getting real close to the town now, and still no sign of any French troops. They may have completely abandoned the town. I don't see any skirmishers in the orchard. I would certainly be able to spot them, and if they were here, in fact, they would have turned my artillery around because they're limbered. And if they were out in here and my gun spotted them limbered, they would have just turned right around. Nothing in sight, so I'm going to continue advancing, and I'm going to condense my formation at this point because, and basically just move forward in a series of lines, one right behind the other, because I'm thinking the town's not occupied, and that maybe I can just detach some skirmishers from the lead unit and the leader and just march in there and grab the objective nice and quietly, without the French maybe even noticing that I am here yet. So that's one of the reasons I'm forming up in line behind the town, is to conceal my approach. So my guns are behind the town, my infantry is converging in line formation, one behind the other in town, behind the town, to conceal my approach from the French. And maybe I can just sneak in and grab this objective without firing a shot, which is always the best way to do it. If you can grab an objective without firing a shot, I highly advise doing it. It's the best way to grab an objective. So I'm thinking now I don't see anything. So maybe I'll just advance the guns through the town, set up outside the town, and see if there's any. I do remember there were French guns here, and there was some French infantry here. Maybe I can set up and just start bombarding them while I quickly grab this objective here. So no, there is still nobody in front of me. So I'm going to just move the battery through the town, and we use roads here to make it easy to slip through the town. And look at this. Look at these sneaky French. Look at this. They were in there the whole time. Now I have to get my battery out of there. So my guns, some of them immediately start turning around. Now I see, okay, there is a French unit inside the garrison here, which hid them from view from me. So they tricked me, and they were able to surprise my guns. However, my guns did not take any losses. As you can see, I was able to quickly withdraw them, get them out of range of the unit inside the town. And okay, so now we're going to have to figure out how to dislodge the French garrisoning this building over here, this set of buildings over here. I'm thinking maybe I can just swing my artillery around the outside of the town and get them into position kind of maybe over here. And then we'll think about how we're going to. So let's grab the battery, swing them around the outside of the town, and then we can move them forward later on from here. Because with the French inside garrisoning the building, we are not going to be able to simply march our battery right through the town there. Oh, you silly French pig dogs. Surprised me. All right, so our brigade is forming up in lines right in front of the other. We're waiting for this battalion to come forward. I'll split off a whole bunch of skirmisher units, surround the building on all three sides, and basically go from here, through here, and around these hedgerows here, and just surround as much of the building as I can, and shoot at them from as many sides as possible. That is, of course, always the preferred way of driving units out of a fort. The only bad thing is, at least here and here, we are not going to be able to control the distance because of the houses in our rear. We're only going to be able to send our skirmishers in and basically put them kind of right at point blank range, which is not ideal. We're going to take more losses than we would if I had the ability to, say, set them up back here or in here if these buildings were not here, but I can't because these buildings are here. So we will not be able to control the distance, which is a very important part of my game plan whenever I go into a combat situation, is being able to control the distance management and control the formation management. So at least on this part of the building, we are not going to be able to do that. We'll probably suffer more losses than we would if I were able to do that. But surrounding the fort on as many sides as possible is still the best way to drive off the enemy. So that is what we are going to do. At least here we'll have a defensive terrain bonus when we put some skirmishers in the hedgerows here. But the first thing we need to do is get our artillery in position here and get these guns in order. And then once we do that, we will begin splitting off skirmishers from this lead unit and surrounding this garrison. So now we can see that we have a French battery right where they're supposed to be in front of the river, just like they were in the French scenario, along with about half of, that should be Biermann's brigade, if I recall correctly, with the other two battalions lagging behind. So at this distance, our artillery is not going to have much of an effect, but we're just getting them kind of out of the way of having to deal with these skirmishers that are in the town. So let's start splitting off these skirmishers and getting them into position. And again, I'm just going to use skirmishers here. There's no way I'm going to send line units to duke it out with French troops garrisoning a building in a town in line formation. That is a surefire way to get many more of your men shot dead than you need to. Skirmishers are the preferred way for fighting inside a town, especially when you're trying to clear a garrison, because you cannot charge a garrison. The only thing you can do is shoot them out. So skirmishers are absolutely the best way to do it. So we're just going to split off as many as it takes here to surround as much of this building as we can. And as you can see, we are already being fired upon long before we've even gotten our troops into position. So as I said, we are probably not going to get the best of this, especially early on. We are going to get a lot of our men killed, but a lot less than would be if we tried to do this with line units. And like I said, we want to minimize the casualties that we're going to take as much as possible. Now, because we're fighting in a town and I don't necessarily have the ability to manage the distance the way I would in the open, it's going to be more casualties than I would like to take, but not a whole heck of a lot I can really do about it. This is the town. This is how we got to do it. It is what it is. So we got to straighten this out a little bit. And yes, I want to try and back these troops up and get them further away from the building if possible. The closer they are to the building, the more casualties they're going to end up taking. So I just got to move these guys forward into the hedgerows now. Get them to engage. And I'm going to continue splitting off skirmisher units here and trying to surround as much of this force as this French force as I possibly can. And what I'm going to do here is eventually shift that unit in the hedgerows over to the rear side of the hedgerows, and this unit I just split off will take their place. Our guns are set up, they're shooting. I'm sure they haven't hit anything yet. As you can see, we've only inflicted one loss. We've taken 19 losses. As I said, we are not going to get the best of this at the beginning here because our troops are still moving into position and they're getting shot at from these cowardly French who are hiding inside of buildings and shooting at us through the windows and doorways and the upper floors. And it's very unsportsmanlike conduct, I have to say. Very unsporting. And our 2nd Brigade has reached the battlefield and he is awaiting our orders. So that is most likely the 2nd Brigade of the Hessian Division here. And now I'm shifting the skirmishers to surround even more of the building here. And very quickly here, let's while that's going on, let's grab our 2nd Brigade and no road movement, we're just gonna start marching them down as quickly as possible and get them on the left side of the town. So all right, in addition to the 2nd Brigade, we also get a 2nd artillery battery. So we're gonna bring them down. There they go. And we'll grab our 2nd Brigade here. I'll TC the officer, and again, I'm just going to pop open the command map, nothing fancy. Just click on the location I want them to move to, and off they go. And back to the town fighting here. So as you can see, our skirmishers are initially at least getting creamed. These rear skirmishers are doing a little better, but the front skirmishers here are definitely not getting the best of it. They're all taking more casualties than they're inflicting. Like I said, because I cannot control the distance, at least as well as I would like, our you know, our skirmishes are taking more losses than they would if these buildings in my rear here were not, and I could control the engagement distance and really put the skirmishers in their sweet spot, which is not 30 yards. 30 yards is not skirmisher sweet spot. 80 to 100 yards is skirmisher sweet spot. So our skirmishers are way too close, but unfortunately it's just the only way to really go about doing this. It would be even worse if I tried to do this with line units. They would take much more casualties because it's their much more densely packed formation. So this is still the best way to do it. Just surround the fort at as many different points as you can, and the pressure eventually will drive the French from the building. So as you can see, now we're starting to catch up a little bit as far as losses. We're still behind, but some of our units are even, some of our units are starting to catch up now that we're in position, now that we've surrounded the fort. One of our units is even doing better. So just patience, give it time. The pressure of having the fort surrounded is dispersing the French firepower all around the building, and it will eventually, and you can see I'm encircling them even more so. So little by little here, we will start to pressure this French and eventually drive them out. So this unit here right in front is absolutely catching the worst of it. They are only 25 yards away from the enemy. They are getting shot down like ducks because they're way too close. If this would be a lot easier if this wasn't a town and it was just an isolated building and I had plenty of room to back up and make my distance more at 80 to 100 yards. This would be entirely different if I had that kind of distance control. Which is one of the reasons I stress that distance management is such an important part of this game, because just a difference of how close or how far away you are to the enemy can make a drastic difference in how effective you are. You know, in this instance, I don't have the luxury of really managing the distance on at least two sides of the fort, so I'm suffering for it. But I'm suffering the least amount I possibly can because I'm just using skirmishers. I'm not using line troops. This would be a lot worse if I had, you know, a big line standing in this road and a big line standing in this road. We would have lost a couple of hundred men by now. You know, so at least the fact that I'm using skirmishers only is minimizing how badly a licking we're taking. But this is an objective, and it's a fairly worthwhile one, so it's worth about 500 points. So it's worth it to go through this, to drive this French out. We're only down 39 points. That's not a huge loss. We've lost 75 men. We've killed 36 men. So little by little, we are starting to pressure these French, and eventually we'll drive them out of the fort. And I'm advancing my battery now. They have a skirmisher screen in front of them, so they're able to advance past this point now. We can get them up here and start giving them some cover from this artillery battery. And these rear units are not doing too bad. They are inflicting generally more losses than they're taking. It's mainly, you know, they're at better distance. They're at 70 yards. These guys are probably at 70 yards. So they're at a little bit better distance than these guys who are just way up close, much closer than they should be. And I'm moving full Aeneas here our brigade commander just closer to the front in anticipation of both the French pulling out of the fort. Have my officer close by to move him into the fort, as well as, you know, maybe he can give the skirmishers the commander bonus and help bolster their combat a little bit, because they are taking a licking right now. And the forward skirmisher unit here has fallen back. They have retreated, so we're going to replace them and put a fresh skirmisher unit in front of the building to keep the pressure on the French. You can see them falling back here. And I split off a new fresh unit to send and take up their position. And I want to try and set them up as far back as I possibly can. So, all right, there we go. So as I said, the pressure of having the fort surrounded on so many different sides, even though we never really any point of this got the best of it in the shooting match, just the pressure of being fired on from many different sides has caused the French to rout, and they have vacated the fort. We will quickly pile these skirmisher units inside and get our brigade commander Folonius inside to occupy the objective. And you can see now that it was actually the 10th line, and it was the entire battalion. So that was a full French battalion. We just routed. They are absolutely routed. That is not a retreat. They are done. They're out of the battle. So, you know, for only 90 losses, we've taken an entire French battalion out of the battle. That was well worth it. And now we're just going to get as many of our troops near the objective as possible. And I'm also going to move this line unit up in line in case we need more troops than I actually have up there to occupy the objective. I think it's a big number. I think it's something like 500 men have to occupy this objective, and I did take quite a bit of losses from my skirmisher unit, so I may not have 500 men out there at the moment. And I think I'm just trying to figure out where I need to position these men to actually occupy the objective, because I can see I still don't have it yet. And I know Folonius is in there somewhere. I think I'm looking for him, but I don't see him. Where the heck is he? There he is. Okay, so maybe I'll just click right on the objective here. Maybe that's what I need to do to occupy this objective here. Is just actually click everybody kind of right on it. And okay, now we have it. Now we have it. All right, so the 10th line has been routed. We can now move the artillery into the center along the road where they'll have a better view of shooting what's in front of them. And we'll just have it, you know, plop a skirmisher unit in front of the battery. And we will bring our division command over. So overall, we're only down 14 points before we've taken the objective. So 14 points of this objective will be net negative, meaning they're just going to make up for the losses that we suffered. And then the rest of that, which is like 486 points, is net positive. So out of a 500-point objective, 486 points of it is a positive, going towards a positive score for us. And the second brigade here is marching on their way, and we are bring up the second artillery battery on the left, and we'll move the second infantry brigade in on right behind them. Now, I'm thinking about approaching down this peninsula here and seeing if I can maybe get around the French flank a little bit. And certainly I got that idea from what the AI did when we played the French scenario for this battle. That's also what they did. They came across with the second brigade at this point here. Unfortunately for them, I had already brought up all my rear defenses and just set up a brick wall. But it occurred to me even then that that might be a good approach for me when I played this scenario, is to actually see if I could actually outflank the French position and come around and hit them from the side while I keep their attention in the front with the this battery as well as the Hessian troops. So our battery's in position. They are unlimbering. As you can see, all the guns are in the middle of unlimbering. It takes 30 seconds or so for the guns to unlimber. I'm advancing the skirmishers so that when the guns move forward, they will still be behind the skirmisher unit. And you can see the 10th line still running probably all the way. Oh, look at this. We have the two battalions from Biermann's brigade that were lagging behind. We brought them up when we played as the French, and we can see that the French AI has done the same. They are bringing those two battalions forward. So we will be facing at least the entirety of Biermann's brigade. However, we have two brigades. And we have about 6.5 minutes left on this objective. And we got to sit here and wait for that to expire before we can get the points, which is fine. All our troops aren't up yet. The second brigade is still making its way up. And I want to see where these two battalions coming up, where they're going to deploy. This looks like a standard line formation, so it wouldn't surprise me if he just formed line and these two battalions just move in and extend this line either this way, or maybe one on this side, one on this side, and just extend the line. That would be a typical AI move, to just form up in a solid line like that. And our guns have hit something. They got 1 point. Yay, guns. And we are moving the rest of the Hessian Guard Brigade up manually, just to start moving our troops forward. No need to just waste time while we have to sit here anyway collecting this objective. We might as well start moving our troops forward. And again, I'm moving the artillery forward into this peninsula. I'm reasonably sure there's nobody in here because I have enough troops forward over here that I would certainly be able to sight anybody in here. So no, I believe this is all the French troops back here, just comprised of this one battery as well as Biermann's infantry here. So real quick, guys, while we have a couple more minutes for this objective to expire, I'm just going to run and get something to drink. I will be right back, fellas. All right, guys, I'm back, and we're continuing our little artillery standoff here. And as you can see, the AI has just formed a long firing line here with Biermann's brigade. So a very concentrated formation. So we're going to see if we can slip across this peninsula with the 2nd Brigade and move off to the left here and then turn and take these guys in the flank. If we can do that, we can take both the town, the brigade, and the guns in one easy shot with a rather simple turning movement. And we got about 3 minutes left on the Lampertheim objective, and we'll collect ourselves 486 points, I think, 485, 486. The other 15 points, of course, are just making up for what we lost in casualties. And I'm just going to move the supply wagon up behind the guns. They're doing the bulk of the firing right now. They're doing all of the firing right now. So just do a few back and forth supply wagon runs if we need to. I'm not as worried about it with Austrian or Hessian cannon. They tend to carry a lot more ammunition than French guns do. So you don't need to be quite as diligent with supply wagon runs with these Austrian cannon as we do with the French guns, especially with canister. I think the Austrian guns carry something like 35, 36 rounds of canister, while, you know, the French guns carry like, 7 rounds of canister. So our 2nd battery has inched up, and we'll continue advancing the infantry, the 2nd Brigade here, bring them up behind the guns here. And I'm just inching closer. I want to see how much room I have to maneuver, if I can actually get these troops across in a way that would kind of slip around the French right flank. They're still just sitting out there in line. So our 2nd battery is unlimbering. Still, none of our other troops have arrived on the map yet. We're still just dealing with the Hessian division. And I think a couple of different ideas about how to go about this are working their way through my head at the moment. Because there's no objective here, really. This town is not worth anything to us. So really the only reason we have to attack the French is simply that they're in our way. So my first thought now is, well, can I actually just get around them? Could I actually just march around them and bypass them? If I can, oh, look at this though. Immediately my attention is drawn back because, all of a sudden we got an objective here that wasn't here a second ago. That town wasn't an objective a second ago. Now I click on the map, bam, it's an objective and it's worth 1,000 points. There is no way in hell I'm leaving 1,000 points on the ground. So that just, any thought of bypassing the French position here just went right out of my head. I'm not leaving 1,000 points on the table. No way. And we have captured it. We have 485 points for Folonius's brigade, which I think gives us a net positive of 486 points, because at the divisional level, of course, we do have that one hit from the artillery battery. So that gives us 486. So I'm going to start immediately unsplitting all these skirmisher units. I just formed a formation just to get them all moving so I could spot them and get their flags. And I'm just unsplitting all these skirmisher units and reforming their lines. There's another one. We'll unform them. They're all luckily just from this one battalion, so that's the only battalion that stopped moving. And we can see that Biermann's brigade is actually shifting position here. It looks like they're forming a line now facing this way. So my idea of going around their left in order to flank them is now not going to work. However, it's now given me another idea. So I'm watching to see how Biermann's brigade is forming up here, and they're all formed up now facing this way. And I'm assuming the other two battalions are just kind of extended through the fort here. So now I'm thinking, well, what if I can sneak this brigade in column all the way out here, just through these trees, kind of right, to the left. The French battery has its attention focused on the guard units and that battery. Maybe I can slowly shift these forces out, and I'm shifting the battery now, and if I can shift Schonberg's brigade out, maybe I can set up in line, deploy some skirmishers, and actually pin this brigade in this facing, and force them to engage my skirmisher units, and then take some of the guard troops and actually send them around the right flank here and attack from the hill. And if I can hit these units in the rear, I can take all these guns and possibly encircle this position. But in order for this to work, I have to be able to slip Schonberg out past the guns without them really noticing me. And so far, their attention seems to be on my battery, just having a good old-fashioned artillery duel. And I'm actually going to advance the battery just a little bit, basically to make this artillery duel seem even more enticing to the French cannon. I don't want to get too close because I think they have more guns than I do, and I don't want to be outmatched. But I just want to really try and keep their cannon's attention on my cannon while I slip Schonberg's brigade out on the left and see if I can form them up in line, deploy some skirmishers, move them forward, in here, and see if I can actually pin this brigade in the facing they're in, and then use some of the guard troops to move around the right and outflank this position on the right side instead. So as you can see, I'm forming up in line now, and I'm going to try and basically just one after the other just deposit my units along this line here in this tree line, and have it be kind of as far away from the French battalions as I can so that I don't actually trigger them to do anything, and then just move a whole bunch of skirmisher units forward to engage them and pin them into this position and into this facing. If I can do that, the way around their right is wide open. There's nothing here. And that will do two things for us. If we can actually outflank these cannon and take the cannon from the rear, we can avoid just like I did in Hessian Fury, which was just a just a rush forward, casualties be damned, and take a lot of canister fire from these guns as we're advancing. We could still do that. That would certainly work, but it's bloody. And because this is a waypoint objective, all I'm going to get is 1,000 points for it. I want it to be as many net positive points as possible. And if I just charge ahead with the guards, sure, I'll take the guns, but I'll eat a lot of casualties in doing it, and then a lot of these points will be net negative. They'll just go towards making up the losses I suffered while charging across the river, and I want as many net positive points as possible, because I need to reach 10,000 points, and losing points to make up casualties just to come out less ahead than I would if I didn't take the casualties just doesn't help me reach 10,000 points, and because these are waypoint objectives, after this I just need to keep pushing forward to the next waypoint objectives, because they're not worth anything after I take them. So there are some cons to waypoint objectives as well. You have to be more cautious in how you take them, because they're only going to give you a set value, a set amount of points, and no more than that. And the more that you use to make up for losses you take, the less of a net positive it is for your overall score. So at this point, I'm thinking I don't want to do this with the entire guard formation. It's just too unwieldy. So what I've done is actually split the brigade. And what I mean is I clicked on the brigade commander, and then I hit the split brigade function and actually created a second brigade commander to command half the brigade. Now there's 5 units in this brigade, so it doesn't split evenly. Three battalions remain under command of Folonius, the original brigade commander, while 2 battalions now are under this other brigade commander that I just created. I think they gave him the name Canning. So I've split the brigade, and I'm sending 2 of my best elite level units on a wide sweeping movement around the French left flank now, so that I can hit them from the rear. And the idea to make that work here is that we're going to use Schonberg's brigade, deploy them in a long line, and then send a bunch of skirmish units forward to engage these units, pin them in position, and keep them basically facing this way while my guard troops move around the flank here. And I'm not going to do a super wide move here, just kind of go out here, around the flank, come in around here, and then just charge these guns from the rear. So you can see my 2 battalions of my split brigade here making their way off to the right, and I'm just going to continue doing that while Schonberg moves into position here. And again, I'm just checking the map to make sure none of my other forces have appeared yet. If they do, I want to get them moving forward as quick as possible. And so far, our guns are doing a pretty good job of keeping most of these guns' attention. We can see that the 2 rightmost guns are now duking it out with my artillery battery. So I've got 2 batteries now keeping the attention of the guns while Schonberg moves off to the left here. And he's somewhat concealed in these trees here, as well as I believe this area right here kind of slopes down, so maybe they're even out of view. Now this is going to be somewhat of a long march, which is why I chose 2 very high level 8 units to do this, because they can take it, they can take the fatigue, they can make this long march around and still be combat effective, so that I can charge these guns. And if they do get clipped with some canister fire by maybe these left 2 guns or something as they approach on the right flank, they'll be able to take that too, because they're supermen. So, all right, so we have Koch, Doring, and Brand's divisions have reached the battlefield. They are awaiting our orders. So there they are. That is our Reichsstadt force right there, as well as we have a, looks like a cavalry force right here that just appeared. That would really be great. That would be truly awesome if I had cavalry. I don't recall having cavalry on that part of the field, or seeing cavalry on that part of the field when I played as the French, but hey, I'll take it. So let's go up, up, and away here to see our... All right, so that's a brigade commander. And Koch. Okay, so this is Koch's division, and that goes up to Württemberg, the army commander. All right, so we have Koch's division. And we also have Doring's division. So we have two divisions here. And we're just going to send them through Reichsstadt and get them through the town, and we'll deploy them in line with artillery front. And we'll use roads. I just want to get them moving, get them past that Reichsstadt town, formed up, and then we'll we'll figure out how we're going to attack the Souffel-Wiersheim position. So I'm seeing what else is over here. We also have Koch's division. So let's grab, and I don't know where Koch is, so one of the things I do is just click on any old unit and then just hit the up arrow and on the keyboard, and that will bring me to the division commander. So we have Koch now. We'll TC him, and we'll also move him out. And we'll move him through Reichsstadt, line artillery front, and use roads. And there they go. All right, that looks good. And then we still have, what's back here? Got a little artillery reserve, maybe? Where are they? I don't see them. Everybody's moving, so those guns are part of the divisions. But there's definitely something still back here that I have not accounted for. I just don't know where they are. What's this? Oh, there they are. There they are. We got a little artillery reserve. All right, so we have Brand's artillery division. So we'll also move them, and we will move them out to the front. And if there's anything to shoot at, they will just unlimber and begin shooting. And we'll also have them use roads. All right, that accounts for everybody except the supply wagons. Don't worry about them. Once the division commanders start moving, they'll move on their own. So, cavalry. Oh, and infantry. We have a whole combined force out here. And I have no idea where they're headed. They are actually moving. But as you can see, when I click on these units, these are part of Palombini's division, but I do not have control of them. I tried to see if I can take control of them by ordering Palombini to move, but nope, they are hard written into the scenario for me to not have control of them, at least at this point. Whether I gain control of them or not, I don't know, but right now there's nothing I can do with them. So yeah, I can see that I cannot select them. I cannot use the command map to make them move. They are just hard scripted to go wherever it is they're going. So it's an infantry brigade as well as a cavalry brigade. And as you can see, I do not have command of them. Boy, I wish I did. That is a 7,800 man strong brigade. That is absolutely enormous. Crazy size. And a 2,100 man cavalry division. So my goodness, that is a big force. I wish I had command of them, but I don't. They appear to have their own separate orders, and I cannot interfere with them. It looks like they're trying to move around the right flank of this whole battlefield and maybe sweep around the French right. But we will see. But meanwhile, we can see our flanking force here under Charles Fox Canning is moving forward, and we're going to continue to move them forward. And Schonsberg's brigade has now finished lining up in line formation, and we can now start splitting off the skirmishers we need to pin Bierman's brigade in position, keep them engaged, while our flanking force works its way around the other side. In a classic sort of pincer maneuver here. All right, so I'm going to split off a whole bunch of skirmishers here, take command of them. We'll do about maybe two skirmishes per battalion here. Get them out so they start engaging these troops and pinning them in position. If I need some muscle, I can always move battalions up behind them, but right now I'm just going to use skirmishers. I'm not actually trying to beat them. I just want to pin them in place while my flanking force makes its way around the other side. And I just need to inch them up into firing range here. I don't want to get them too close because, you know, skirmishers have a sweet spot. If I keep them at about 100 yards or so, that's right where they'll do great. And the French have started firing now, but I'm still at 150 yards, and I'm just trying to keep them at kind of max musket range here. There we go. We're at 145 yards, 120 yards. So good distance control here. And I'm going to split off some more skirmishers and just try and thicken up this line a little bit, so that I have a good amount of muskets on the skirmish line here. But this is good distance management right here. 120 yards, 140 yards, perfect. Close enough to keep them engaged, but far enough away that not a lot is really going to come of it. It's not going to be a bloodbath, and I'm not interested in making it a bloodbath because here comes my flanking force. And if we can slip them around the orchard here and come in rear, we can just demolish all of this. Those two battalions are guard level troops. They will just dump truck everything back here if I can slip them around here. So now we can see the other two battalions that were, I guess, back here moving around the fort. So we're going to split some skirmishers off, run them up into the woods here, and take this defensive terrain bonus right here. And we're actually going to also move the entire battalion up here, I believe, so that we have a little muscle behind our skirmisher unit. And I think we're going to also start moving our line battalions right behind our skirmisher units. They will, as I've said many times before, skirmisher units do not block line of sight, but they still screen. So I can move line units right behind them. They'll be screened and won't take as many losses. But they will still be able to fire right through their skirmishers like they're not there. So they will be able to add their firepower to the mix. And if I can time this just right, maybe we can have the guard level units that are remaining back here under Folonius advance so that after these guns are taken by these two battalions, Folonius can advance and hit what's left back here in the flank with the rest of these guard troops. So as you can see, the French have very correctly moved their line units much further forward. Now this is not good range for the skirmisher units. They're too close. We're going to have to back them off a little bit. That was definitely a good move by the French. They should do that with all of these units, to be honest with you. But they didn't. They moved only one unit forward. That is a good idea. We have to withdraw these skirmishers to keep that sweet spot. And I'm going to move some skirmishers out here so that I can advance the guns and put even more pressure on these battalions now. I just got to make sure I keep these skirmishers outside of canister range of this rightmost gun here. So they're at 370 yards from this battalion, so there's no way that they're really close to 200 yards of the battery. So we need to move this line unit further forward to get them engaged. And I'm going to split off one more skirmisher unit to take up the left position of these woods here. And we're bringing some muscle in here now. Now we're going to get line units firing massed fire from behind the protective cover of these skirmisher screens and start to turn this engagement really to our advantage. Meanwhile, we are still really keeping the attention of this battery with our artillery, and we are ready to start moving our flanking force over here. Let's go. There they go. All right, so we're going to sweep around the flank here and then hit these guns. All right, so these skirmishers are not being fired upon by the artillery. It's safe to move these cannon forward, and that will put even more pressure on the line battalions out there. All right, let's see how we're doing over here. All right, these skirmishers are doing good. Yep, these guys are not so good, but they're in the open. We need to move them into the woods so that they have that defensive terrain bonus. Right in there. We want to see this. Yep. Oh, that's open again. Road. I want to see that it turns to woods. All right, these guys should be opening up real soon. They're in position. There they go. All right, now these skirmishers, they're doing okay. These guys are a little close. They're still doing good, but they're closer than they should be. I'm going to back them up a little bit. Just going to use the fallback while engaged, and then reposition them kind of right here, and that should be better. That puts us at 82 yards from this battalion. That's kind of the inside of the sweet spot. You can get away with 80 yards. That's not bad. And our guns are now pretty close. We're probably putting some good pressure. I'm going to advance the skirmishers a little. Again, I just don't want to come within canister range of this battery. Our flanking force is making its way across. And we have the rest of these guard units in reserve. Let's get our, who's this, our army commander? Let's bring him up. So we're doing good right now. We're at 730 points. So we're still, we're about 250 points ahead of where we were after we captured the town. So we're doing okay. We're doing okay. This plan is coming together. And I'm just going to move this last line unit here up here as a reserve in case they're needed. And we will move Schonberg up in rear of his line units to give everybody the commander bonus. You always want to make everything as lopsided in your favor as possible. So take every advantage you can get. Skirmishers, terrain, commander bonuses, whatever you can get. It all helps. Stack them up. Stack up as many advantages as you can. All right, so I'm slipping even further around the French rear now, and oh, this is going to be tasty. And we have done this without taking any casualties at all. Glorious. The French are virtually surrounded at this point, making sure they don't have anything coming up to surprise me. But, okay, our skirmish units are all doing, they're right in that sweet spot, man. It's 75, 85 yards. They're good. They're golden. And oh, that's Palombini that I actually can't do anything with, but we'll just let him sit there, I think, because I do not have any control over these units. Occasionally I'll click on them to see, do I have you yet? Nope, still don't have you yet. So they're still following whatever their prearranged, pre-written script is. So I guess I don't have use of them. But they appear to be outflanking the French left on a very wide sweep. Hopefully that pays off later. This is a pretty large force. It's 2,000 cavalry, nearly 8,000 infantry. We can see our other force making its way through Reichstadt. That'll take a while because they have to get through Reichstadt, then they have to form up, so I won't be doing anything with them for a while. In the meantime, we are concentrating on wiping Biermann's brigade off the face of the earth here. As you can see, we are dropping a lot of these men. This unit is, these guys are kind of close, but they're still doing a good job of screening these line units. As you can see, this unit has stopped and formed line because I didn't TC the battalions. I just TC'd the officers, so the battalions reacted on their own. No problem, I learned my lesson. I've now TC'd the battalions as well. And, yep, nothing coming up to support the French. They are in a bad spot here. Do a little supply wagon run, keep my guns a-firing. And now the coup de grace. Now we send the rest of Folonius forward, I believe. No. First we got to get these guys in position. They're taking a little bit of canister fire. We got to get these guns. So we're just going to, while this unit still has a ways to march to get, unfortunately, there on the far end. So we're just going to back them up temporarily just to get all of these units out of canister range so that they're no longer suffering losses. The guns will not advance forward because the guns will only move around where they're placed. The battery commander would actually have to order them forward. So I just need to back those two battalions up a little bit just to get them out of canister. And, okay. We're doing good. We're doing good. Our skirmishers are doing good. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But here's the real kicker. Look at that. 120 losses and 135 losses inflicted by the muscle, the line units in rear. That's why we brought them up, because they're inflicting huge damage. Look at these losses. That whole left side of that battalion is gone. And they're doing hardly anything to us because we are screened behind a force field of skirmishers that cannot be breached by musket fire. This is why I screen everything with skirmishers. As you can see, we are still getting clipped by canister here. Not too bad, not too bad. These are tough units. These are level 8 elite troops, best of the best. They can take a few canister shots. They'll be okay. But now, the magic starts. Now the guns are facing all the wrong way. We got a couple of guns facing this way, a couple of guns facing this way. The way through to the front is wide open. So we're going to advance. We're going to advance the guard here, under Folonius, and make for the center. Meanwhile, we're going to charge with the guns with these two battalions on the left here, clear all this out, make a mess, and then send the guard forward. All right, so now we got our battalions in place. We've only taken 26 losses, nothing serious. Let's go. All right, so I'm moving forward in the column by division formation. But first I have to TC the battalions so that they follow my orders. So as I've said before, even if TC'd, you can still charge from the brigade commander. Certain functions of the Grog toolbar work, and that is one of them. Meanwhile, I manually move this unit. Instead of being here, I manually position them to be closer to the guns because I don't want them charging these units. These guys are done for anyway. I'm not worried about charging them. I want these guns. Give me the artillery. Because if I can capture all these guns, I'll crew them, and then I can attach them to the battery back at Lampertheim and make myself a nice big grand battery that I can control with one battery commander. So I want to capture these guys with infantry and crew all these guns and give myself a lot of artillery. So I'm just hovering over the double quick, As soon as these guys start unleashing the canister on me, I'll double quick and we'll charge right into them. You're the smart one, aren't you? Look at you. You're the only one of these guns with any brains. You ain't stupid. He's like, nope, I'm out. I'm Ghost. See you guys later. Have fun getting stormed by the guard here. All right, we are really close. We are about to rock and roll and hit all these. Look at them. They're lined up like a little picnic for us. We're just gonna gobble them all up like Pac-Man. Here we go. Hey, he's trying to get it. He's like, nope, I'm out too. See ya. Heading for the river. Gonna take a swim, but we're getting everything we can over here. Oh, they've had enough. Oh, the plan is starting to. The realization is starting to dawn on the French here. That is all. We have captured all of these guns. 2 of them got away. We got 1 last gun over here. We're gonna take them. And they're all booking. Bierman is just like, what the hell happened? Here come the guard. At first I think about taking this unit to capture this gun, but then I'm like, it's only 1 gun, who cares? There's no point in even wasting my time. Let's take this one. These guys are all running for their lives. Outmaneuvered, outflanked, outpositioned. They're done. All right. So we still have, it looks like, a 1 battalion hanging out in the fort. We're going to move some skirmishers to engage them. Finish clearing out what's left of the French over here. They're running. These guys are probably going to run soon. Bierman is like, oh, I'm out of here. We're dropping some canister, I believe, on these artillery batteries that are making their way out of here. And here goes another French. Oh, you guys are all just getting out of here en masse. I love it. And we're going to move these skirmishers in to engage whatever is still in here. Bye, boys. And you can see our troops are making their way through Reichstadt here. Like I said, they've still got a long way to go before they move through the town and form up. Plenty of time to take care of what we have to take care of here. Let's move these skirmishers into engaged distance. Finish clearing out whatever is in this fort. Here come the guard. We can bring the start bringing this battery up, I guess. And okay, I am now going to unsplit Canning and get rid of them and join him up with the original unit here of Folonius. There he is. All right, so we now have Folonius, and we have these 2 battalions back under his command, basically making the Hessian Guard units 1 full brigade again. We're just going to move them all up in column by division. Get everybody up here. As soon as we finish clearing this out, we can occupy the fort, take the objective, rack up our 1,000 points, and continue the assault. Continue to drive back these French. So this is the 3rd battalion of the 10th line here, and up there they go. Bye, guys. Alright, so Bierman's brigade has been completely driven off this position now. We're just going to pile the skirmishers into the fort. And I think since these are all Schonberg's units I have over here, Polonius is still making its way up. We'll just grab the Schonberg. There he is. There's the brigade commander, Schonberg. Dump him in the fort to occupy the objective. Get in there. And in case we don't have enough men, we'll just bring a line unit right up there near the objective to make sure we have plenty of men. And there goes the remnants of Biermann's brigade. And I cannot unsplit them because they're too far away, so we're going to have to move them forward first. Let's bring the battery up, get the rest of these rear units up here. Anywhere will do. There we go. We just want to get them forward. And I'm going to actually now, these units that are, these guns that we captured here, that were French guns, I'm attaching them all to that artillery battery that I'm bringing up from the rear. So they will all now be under the brigade commander. The battery commander for that one battery. And we have the objective. Okay, good. Biermann's brigade, look, gone. See you, fellas. And that entire action, guys, was purely maneuver. That's how we beat them. We outmaneuvered them. We tricked them into thinking we were trying to flank them on the left, pinned them in that facing, and then we hit them on the other side, and they were like, what? What happened? That's what happened. Alright, so while Schonberg here is occupying the objective, we'll just start moving our units forward, seeing what's in front of us. Biermann is done. His whole brigade is just running for their lives. And what do we got? We got almost 9 minutes to sit here before we can do anything else. But we still have to bring the rest of the guard forward, recollect some of these skirmisher units, bring the rest of our guns forward. So once we have this objective, I will reorder my troops here. Give the, they need a little time to rest anyway. Some of them are fatigued and whatnot. So I'm moving that now combined huge battery out to the front of the town. It's like, I don't know, 11, 12 guns I've got now. It's like, Jesus, that's a huge battery now because of all those guns we captured. And last but not least, we will bring our army commander Württemberg up. Just get him up behind his troops somewhere, doesn't really matter. We can start recalling all these skirmishers. We don't need them all out here. And we can recall all these skirmishers as well. This one line unit here is more than enough men to control the objective, so we could just recall all these skirmisher units, and these guys they're basically still right by the objective. The leader's in there. We've still got it. No problem. And I'm just recalling more skirmishers, just cleaning up the litter, so to speak. All right, so we have moved through Reichstadt now. And let's see how the development is going over here. All right, there is Souffel River. Looks unoccupied. Everything looks deceptively quiet, doesn't it? Certainly, there's no skirmishers lining that river like we would have done. So the last of our troops are moving through Reichstadt here, and once they're finished forming up, we will. I'm just making sure I did not leave anything behind here. Nope, got everybody. Okay. All right. So once this division here finishes forming up, we'll decide how we want to advance on the town of Souffel River here. That appears to be the objective, right there, the town. So let's see what's in front of us here. I am probably not yet close enough to really get an idea of what's in front of me. But maybe I can advance down this road and outflank this position. Don't really know what I want to do here yet. It really depends on how the French are disposed once I get near them. There's the last of Bierman running for his life. And our cavalry and our infantry that we do not have control over are still making their way. Wow, their destination is all the way to the southwest. They are outflanking the entire battle, basically. But I wonder if maybe I'll be able to use them, or maybe they're scripted to go and occupy those 3 objectives. If they are, would I get points for that if the troops aren't under my command? I'm not sure. That's not a situation you usually face in a scenario. Usually all the troops are under your command, or the ones that aren't simply don't play a part in the battle. So we'll have to see how that develops. All right, so look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guns make up this battery now. So we have, I guess, my original 6, and I guess we got 4 out of 6 of the French battery, and there's the other 2 that escaped. So we now have a 10-gun battery. That is just so huge. A 10-gun battery. I can't believe that's just enormous. And we will bring our army commander Württemberg and get everybody out of Lampertheim. We no longer have a use for that town, and we are now converging everything around Mundelsheim. And once we have that objective, we will proceed along the road here towards the 3 objectives further south, because we have the troops over at Reichstadt to deal with Souffel River. So the road south for the Hessian division is just wide open, and we're just going to head south and just clear out what's ever in our way. And yeah, you can see 2 guns escaped us, but they're all the way. They're all the way over there. They're no bother. Bierman tried to rally his troops and utterly failed. They all ran, and he's left all by himself. Now he's just trotting around in shame. Don't feel bad, Bierman. That was a clever maneuver I used. I'll give myself a pat on the back for that one. And 2.5 more minutes for this objective. And I'm going to go get another drink, guys. I'll be right back. All right, fellas, I am back, and we're continuing to consolidate our forces around Mundelsheim here while we have to sit here and sit on this objective anyway. Might as well use the time to bring our forces up. And after that, we will continue to proceed south along this road here and just kind of use the 16th Division to gobble up whatever is in our way. And the last of our supply wagons and guns are crossing the river. All right, so everybody is formed up here south of the town of Reichstadt. We got our guns in the front, nobody to shoot at. So here's Koch's brigade division. So let's grab his first brigade under George von Missani, the second brigade here, and we'll just start moving them forward towards the bridge. Move him forward in column by division, and we will send an artillery battery along with him for the ride. See what's in front of us. And here we have the 1st Infantry Brigade, and we will also send them forward towards one of the salients here, just to see what's in front of him. And I think we will also send an artillery battery with him. All right, and this should be what, the 3rd Brigade? Oh, this is the 4th Brigade. Where's the 3rd Brigade? Do I have a 3rd Brigade? And, well, we'll send them forward in reserve. And we'll send this other battery up along with them. I want to know who the 3rd Brigade are. I had a 1st, a 2nd, and then it just jumped to 4th. Oh, maybe it's this brigade over here. Maybe the one that's, maybe it's the one going with the cavalry. Maybe they're on like a detached mission or something, you know? And it's actually part of that division. That's possible. All right, so easy way to move an entire division, just take everybody off of take command and select the line artillery front formation. That's kind of my favorite divisional formation, just to move an entire division. And we'll just get everybody moving forward. And here they come. And obviously we have captured the Mundelsheim objective. That's why I'm now moving off that position. Time to keep pushing forward. And 360 men now in that big battery. That is the Fuss battery. And they call them the Fuss battery because a battery that size you do not want to fuss with. You do not want to fuss with a 10-gun battery in your face. And well, let's just recall these skirmishers here. And anytime you recall skirmishers while a battalion is moving, it forces there's the division commander, Albert. He has only half a division now, as Bierman is done. But as I was saying, anytime you recall a skirmish unit while a battalion's moving, it just makes them stop. So all I did to get them moving again was just click on the brigade commander for that battalion and just reselect the formation, which was double line, I guess, because that's part of the division formation line with artillery in the front. So all I did was reselect the formation, and that got them moving again. All right, so we have spotted somebody. Aha! We have spotted a French brigade across the river. So we can inch our artillery up here and at least begin shelling them. Whether I attack them or not depends. Depends on what my other infantry brigade moving up on the right sees in front of them. Because remember, one of my core rules on the attack is to only attack what you absolutely need to attack. If I don't need to attack this brigade, if it's merely enough to kind of hold them in position and just shell them, I will do that. The objective I need is the town. So ideally, that's all I want to attack, is the town. So I'm just slowly advancing my formations forward. We're going to cross the river now, because there's nobody out here in sight of the guns. So I'm going to move the guns forward, and I will move the 1st Infantry Brigade here into column, just to get them cleanly across the river and move them up behind the guns. Yes, column. That would be that one. Yeah, there we go. And then see what's around the town and see what the absolute easiest way to capture the objective is. Because the easiest way would, of course, be to capture it without firing a shot. As I've said earlier, if you can do that, it's always the best way. And as we advance the guns, we will advance the infantry right behind them. Not quite sure what I want to do with this battery yet. Do I want to send them over to the salient? Do I want to send them to support the guns on the left? Not sure yet, just keeping my options open. We'll see how this situation develops as my troops begin to close in. So these guys are still really making their way around the flank. They are outflanking this entire battle. And though I don't have control of those troops myself, I can't say I'm disappointed in what they're doing. It's, if I can gain control of them later on, that flanking maneuver they're doing will probably pay off handsomely. And here is our army commander. Just continue to kind of move him along with the 16th Division. That seems to have become his home. So we're at 27, almost 3,000 points. So we're about a third of the way there. And we've only taken 2 objectives so far. There are still a host of other objectives out there on the battlefield. This is a rather big field, and there is a lot of operational maneuver. And we are in the middle of one of those segments right here. And so far we have only taken 230 casualties and inflicted about 1,000. So we are doing excellent. That was a killer pincer maneuver that we executed upon the town of Mundelsheim. Bierman's brigade never saw it coming. They got smashed all at once. And we can see that here at the Stone Bridge, we have 1 battalion and a battery holding this. This is very thin defense. I am not even going to bother going for it with the 16th, with the Hessian division, because I know I have a whole combined arms force that's going to be coming down that road later on. I'll leave it to them. Let's keep the Hessian division moving south toward those 3 hold objectives. That's where the real money's at. You know, once I get a hold of hold objectives, that's a steady source of points. Because points are everything in this game. You want to get as many as you can. So we can see the French artillery reserve back there on the Souffel-Wiersheim hill, which does not appear to be an objective for us. So I'm actually going to take the 2nd battery now, move them up alongside this battery, and just see if we could start pounding away at this French brigade over here. I forget, is this Gadan's brigade, I think? I think this might be Gadan's brigade, and they are just sitting out here doing nothing. So I'm just going to set up some guns, pound away on them, and this must be, I forget who the other brigade of the 15th Division was. It was Gadan, and I can't think of his name. But anyway, this must be the other brigade, and they appear to be vacating the town. So if this is what I'm thinking, if Gadan is over here, and Fririon, that's his name, I'm sorry, and Fririon is over here, then what's in the town? Nothing? Can I just sneak up here and just slip some troops into that building and grab hold of the objective? Can I do that? That would surely be the best way to do it. All right, so let's push the guns forward and make sure there's absolutely nothing in front of us here. And we will, no, Rob, that's the battery commander still, dummy. No, you want him up here. Yeah, you want the brigade commander. I think he's in here somewhere. No. Yes. Okay, there he is. Karl von Hohenlohe. Hohenlohe? Anyway, we are now going to deploy into assault column here, because that will put some of our units right in front of this building. And look, Fririon is just formed in line out here. Oh, what do we got here? So this must be the 2nd Brigade of Albert's 16th Division. What was that? So we had Bierman, and what was the other one? Was it Cardinau's brigade? Is that the other brigade? Okay. So we have one, yeah, I think it's Cardinau's brigade, and they are out here all by their lonesome against our 2 brigades and the almighty Fuss battery. And they look like they're just kicking out a lot of skirmishers. I don't know what they're doing. But I'm going to deploy here and get my large gun batteries up to the front here and see what Cardinau wants to do. If he runs away, I'll just keep moving forward. If he stands and fights, then I will inch towards him and keep my artillery behind a skirmisher screen. While I advance the line infantry on either side and just start pounding them out. So they are deploying. They're deploying an assault column, and they're moving forward. Are you guys nuts? Seriously, you're not just gonna come forward like that, are you? You're not that dumb. 1 French brigade against an entire division with the almighty Fuss battery? No, you're not just gonna charge them. Get out of here. So 1,000 points, a 9-minute waypoint objective, 1,000 points, and it looks like it's sitting there empty. So I'm just waiting for these battalions to make their way over here, and can I just walk in there and take this objective without firing a shot? Here comes my second battery. And we will move the 4th Infantry Brigade up in rear of the 2nd Brigade. And I have 2 brigades here now, so if Goudan's brigade out there gets tired of getting pounded on by my 2 artillery batteries here and decides they want to come forward, they're going to have a nasty surprise in store for them. So what the hell is going on here? Are you crazy? Okay, I'm going to say this now for the record. Cardinaux is a certifiable madman. He is coming forward with nothing but 1 brigade against an entire Hessian division. Elite guard level troops of the Hessian division, no less. And with a huge amount of artillery in front of them. And you're going to come forward. I think you're nuts. This is absolutely nuts. This is like a desperation maneuver. Look at this. You're walking forward into death. You're absolutely crazy. Cardinaux must have a death wish. Do you not see all these guns out here? Do you not see all these line troops? What do you hope to accomplish? Absolutely crazy. Now pay attention here, guys, because these French troops here under Cardinaux are about to teach you a very important lesson about how not to make an attack. This is nuts. So artillery fire has broken up their formations and broken up their approach. We still have a couple of units that are trying to make their way forward here, but the cohesiveness of the formations has been broken up quite a bit. But look at this. They're all right. I see these guys are the craziest of the bunch. So we're going to take one of these elite level troops here and just Hulk smash these guys. Let our skirmishers shoot at them while they can, but we're gonna hit them with this. Look at this! They're charging! They're charging into the gates of hell itself! So our skirmishers withdraw, but we're gonna hit them with this guard level unit here and wipe them off the face of the earth. We got another unit coming up here that's gonna do the same to these guys. Unbelievable. You guys literally, you charged into the gates of hell itself. Look at the canister just ripping these units apart, and now they're going to get charged. Unbelievable. And the canister is continuing to just decimate anything in front of them. This unit surrendered. Can't say I blame them. I don't know what they were thinking to begin with. I mean, this was just, Jesus Christ. Oh my God, Cardinaux, you just sacrificed your brigade on an altar of blood. Unbelievable. Look at our cannon just vaporizing this brigade. Just one by one, every unit is getting destroyed in a matter of minutes. There they go. That's another one. They surrendered as well. All right, well, this is a level 5 unit, so we don't actually want to put them in the position where they'd have to get into too many melees. They are not guard level troops. So we'll just set them up in line right where they are on this unit's flank and let them pound away. So he had 6 battalions and we just vaporized 3 of them, and there's only 3 left. So we're going to move the skirmish unit out on the flank of this unit, move this unit out on the flank. Unreal. They're not even going to wait for me to do it. They've had it. I honestly cannot believe Cardinal just headfirst charged the Hessian Guard. Literally a death wish, guys. And what's left of his brigade is getting the heck out of here. That was the most ill-conceived attack I've ever seen the AI make. I mean, that was... I wouldn't have made that attack. I couldn't have made that attack work. One brigade against an entire Hessian division. Of the Hessian Guard, no less. I mean, there's no way. There's just no way. That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. So now that the craziness is over and Cardinal's brigade has been half vaporized, we're now going to sneak some skirmishers and maybe put a line unit right by this objective here, get our brigade commander into the fort and occupy this objective here. Because Freirion's brigade has simply moved off of it and given it to us. Now, I know the AI is not playing for points, we are, but it still seems like a bad idea to just give me free points like this. So here we go. We're moving our skirmishers in to occupy 300. We have a 300-man capacity in this fort, so we'll get three skirmisher units in there. We'll move the line battalion up right behind to make up the rest of it, and then we will run the officer in there to occupy the objective. And then we might take the remainder of these units here, set them up in line to guard against Freirion. Gudin is safely locked up on the other side of the river, and we can get in here and get our objective. There is Hohenlohe, our brigade commander, and you can see Gudin is just, what's he going to do? He's way out of position. Now, Bierman is in position to swing around our right, so once we occupy this objective, we'll take some of our units and move them over here to set up a defense against Bierman if we need to. But get the objective first. We got two units stacked on top of each other over here, so I'm just moving this unit over to make some room. And we'll screen the guns. Just put some skirmishers out in front of them. Put up the shields. And we can start grabbing our supply wagons and bringing them up towards the guns. These guns are just getting a bomb away on Cadan's brigade for free. They're not doing anything but standing there and taking it. And you can see we're dropping men. We're hitting them. These two forward battalions are getting shot up pretty good by our artillery. And all right, we have the objective. Yippee! And now we can start shifting some of these battalions over to set up a defense in case Frerion decides to get froggy now that he's realized we've just walked in and taken this objective like a couple of thieves in the night. Way to not defend the town, guys. I give more credit to Bierman. You know, he at least stood there and made a fight out of it. You guys just gave me this objective. All right, so we are coming up on the end of it, guys, and we got 8 minutes left on this objective. So there we are, 1700 hours, and we got a courier message just at 1700 that Koch, Zolich's brigade and the Württemberg cavalry have reached the battlefield. They are awaiting your orders. And we will catch up with those two units in the next video. I believe that is it's either the beginning of our force that comes down from the center to take the Stone Bridge area, or it might be that force that is currently outflanking this whole battle and heading towards those three towns on the far southwest. I'm not sure. But at any rate, that's it for part one, guys. So far, I think we're at about probably 4,000 points, maybe a little less than halfway there. We have just seized the Souffel-Wiersheim objective, and we will continue in part two. We will wrap this battle up. So that's it for now, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you for part two of the Battle of the Souffel. Take it easy, fellas.